Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Maryellen taking off. Chapter 8, Fireworks. After the Alamo, the Larkins drove north and west. Maryellen rolled down the window and let the wind whip through her hair as she admired her view. She thought back to school, Mrs. Humphrey at the piano leading the class in a rousing rendition of America the Beautiful. Maryellen always bowed out the lyrics with gusto. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. But it wasn't until now, driving across America with her family, that Maryellen really understood what the words meant. The skies above Nebraska truly were spacious. The vast fields of grain in Kansas really did look like golden waves in the windswept ocean, and the mountains in Wyoming were purple as they rose up against the horizon. Joan might be longing for home, but Maryellen wasn't. She loved to see the country with her own eyes. Yes, she thought, America is beautiful. Now, kids, said Dad when they got to the Yellowstone National Park, you're about to see one of the wonders of the world. It's a geyser called Old Faithful. Stand back and pay attention. At first, nothing happened. Then, from a hole in the ground, water steamed and burbled up. Next, water sprayed up like a fountain until whoosh! The geyser shot up into the air as tall as a skyscraper in a spectacular explosion of scalding hot water, spray, and steam that shook the earth beneath their feet. Whoa! Gasped Maryellen and Beverly, clutching each other as the crowd applauded the geyser. Maryellen tilted her head back to see the geyser against the blue sky. If the geyser of water was lifting something and holding it aloft, would it be counted as a flying machine? She gazed in wonder as the shaft erupted in a column for nearly 5 minutes and then sank lower until it disappeared hissing into the background. At the campground, Dan unhitched the Airstream. He drove the station in around Grand Loop Road so that everyone could see elk, buffalo, and bears. They hiked to the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, and they walked near the hot springs they burbled up out of the ground, holding their noses to block the sulfurous smell. When they returned to the Airstream, Mom had to hurry and make dinner, and after dinner, when the rest of the family went to hear a ranger talk about stargazing, Mom stayed at the campground to put Mikey to bed and tidy up the trailer. Mom didn't grumble about it, but Marion could see that Mom's prediction had come true. The trip was hard work for her. Mom was trying to teach Joan how to cook, and Joan was trying to learn that she'd know how to cook for Jerry after they were married. But everything Joan cooked turned out the same way, burned black. Hamburgers, cookies, pancakes, baked potatoes, and fried eggs all became hockey pucks because Joan would be distracted by whatever book she was reading that she'd forget what she was cooking until smoke filled the Airstream. So Mom had to be diligently on cooking duty most nights. Even Dad was sort of letting Mom down. Fish turned out to be harder to catch than Dad had expected, so Mom had to come up with something for dinner even after long days of hiking. Maryellen tried to be very conscientious and keep her promise about caring for Scooter. She walked Scooter around the playground every morning. Even though it was a chore, it was fun. Everyone was friendly, and everyone loved Scooter, who had very good manners for a dog. One afternoon, as the Larkins arrived back at their trailer after a hike to see mud pots and waterfalls, Dad announced, "It's the 4th of July, so tonight there's going to be a barbecue with music and square dancing at Old Faithful Lodge. After that, we'll drive outside the park to see some fireworks." "Hooray!" cheered the kids. "I love fireworks," Maryellen exclaimed. "I knew you do, honey, but Scooter does not," said Mom. "Someone has to stay behind in the trailer or the Scooter tonight to keep him calm. And since Scooter is your responsibility, Ellie, I think you are that someone." "I'll stay too," said Joan. "I want to wash my hair and iron a blouse." "Watch out," Carolyn whispered to Maryellen. "Don't let Joan fry her blouse as if it's a grilled cheese sandwich." Maryellen mustered a smile. But after the rest of the family had left, she felt like Cinderella stuck at home while everyone else went to the ball. even though in this case it was a square dance. It was hard to be cheerful as she sang Scooter's Come To Dinner song. Chow, chow, dog food, eat it up, and you'll be a happy pup. Ellie, Joan said, sounding testy, would you please stop singing that song? It's so annoying. Scooter's too, the way he slobbers over his dinner. Okay, snapped Maryellen. She gave Scooter an extra helping of dog food to make up for Joan's mean words about him. When it got dark, Maryellen looked out the windows of the Airstream. She could hear fireworks in the distance, but the windows were too small and the trees were too big for her to see them. She sighed with frustration and boredom. She slid her eye sideways to look at Scooter, who was snoozing under a bed and so deeply asleep that he looked as though nothing could wake him. Not even if a loud firecracker went off right next to him. Grabbing her notebook, Maryellen pushed the door and went outside. Now she see fireworks high in the sky. Some blossomed like the giant chrysanthemum or the dandelions blown apart by a puff of wind. Others looked like squiggles or jet streams or silvery star showers. Some shot straight up, like old faithful. Others looked like multicolored snowflakes that dissolved into shiny streams of blue, green, red, and gold as they fell towards Earth. As she began to sketch, Maryellen noticed that some of the fireworks went off all at once in one tremendous burst, and others went off in stages, climbing higher in the sky with each burst. First there was one explosion, and then another explosion higher up at the first, and a third explosion that was the highest of all. Each part boosted the next. Maryellen realized that's why they stayed in the sky the longest. Wait a second, she thought, her heart thumping. That's it! Booster rockets! Her team could make their flying machine in parts, each part pushing up the next. That was how to keep it in the air longer. Maryellen was excited. She suddenly felt as if the fireworks were celebrating with her as they lit up the whole sky. Then, rat-a-tat-tat, an incredibly loud string of fireworks exploded, and zoom! Scooter burst out of the trailer, bolted past Maryellen, and disappeared into the dark. Oh no, wailed Maryellen. Scooter, come back, boy! She dropped her sketchbook, ran outside for the Airstream, and flung herself onto the ground, trying to see if Scooter was under the trailer. Scooter, I know you're scared. Come out, please. But Scooter was not there. He was gone, swallowed up by the night. Ellie, what are you shouting about? Asked Joan, just out of the shower. It's Scooter, said Maryellen in a shaking voice. He ran away. It's all my fault. I was distracted, thinking about my flying machine and sketching the fireworks, and I opened the door, and someone set off fireworks. Scooter bolted out and took off and... Calm down, interrupted Joan. He can't have gone far. Just rattle his bag of dog food and call him. He'll come. No, he's gone, Maryellen insisted. Please, Joan, you've got to help me find him before he gets eaten by a bear or sucked into one of those smelly mud pots or falls over a waterfall. All right, said Joan. You get the flashlight while I get dressed. Get a map of the park, too. Thank you, Joan, said Maryellen. Go, said Joan bossily, shooing Maryellen, and I find some bandanas or something to use as a bandage in case Scooter is cut or scratched. The light of the flashlight bounced along the pine needly path as Maryellen and Joan set out to search for Scooter. They went to every tent in the campground to ask if anyone had seen him. Most people had gone to the party at the lodge, but those still at the campgrounds all knew and liked Scooter because he was such a friendly dog, and they promised to keep an eye out for him. One man, who was rather well paddled himself, said, "Who'd have thought that fat old Scooter could run fast or far? He's such a tub of lard." Maryellen was surprised and pleased when Joan stiffened and said tartly, "Guess we shouldn't judge by appearances, should we?" I never thought I'd see Joan stick up for Scooter, Maryellen thought. Maybe she really does like Scooter after all. A young woman by the shower said she had seen Scooter running out of the campground a little while ago. He went that way, she said, pointing off in the darkness. Thanks, said Maryellen. She peered at the map. Oh no, Scooter's heading toward Yellowstone Canyon. What if he falls in the fire hole and gets swept up by the rapids? Stop it, said Joan Fernie. That sort of talk won't help. She tapped the map. Look, there's a ranger station in that same direction. We'll tell them our dog was missing. We can look for Scooter on the way there. Okay, said Maryellen. At times like this, she was glad that Joan was bossy. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.